Hello, in this video, I'm going to run through every single black card from the Edge of Eternities set and put a commander that I think that card would be playable with. Let me use Alferal as an example, the Stone Chosen. For 3 and a black, it's a legendary creature, human cleric 3/3, with ward, discard a card at random. And void. Whenever it attacks, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, or a spell was warped this turn, defending player loses half of their life, rounded up. Issued, 2 happens as 1, is a red, a white, and a black. It's a legendary creature, human samurai 3/4. If a creature attacking causes the triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So, the Stone Chosen is playable in an Ishin deck because whenever it attacks, you can double that ability, and defending player lose half the life rounded up, and then again. So, the next one is Arch Enemies Charm. For black, it's an instant with choose 1. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Return 1 or 2 target creature and or planeswalker cards from your graveyard to your hand. Or put 2 +1/+1 encounters on target creature you control. It gains lifelink until end of turn. Crick, Son of Yawgmoth is 4 a Phyrexian black, a Phyrexian black, a Phyrexian black. Legendary creature Phyrexian horror minion 2/2 with lifelink. For each black in a cost, you may pay 2 life rather than pay that mana. Whenever you cast a black spell, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So this Arch Enemy's Charm would have Phyrexian black, Phyrexian black, Phyrexian black. So you can just like pay 6 life, destroy a creature or planeswalker. Pay 1 black and pay 4 life, just exile target creature or planeswalker. Feels pretty good. So it has no colorless mana, so you can just start ripping through your deck with Crick. Beam Saw Prospector. For black and a 1, it's a creature human artificer 2/1. Whenever it dies, you make a lander token. Grade's Arisen Nightmare is 1 a black and a black for a legendary creature Nightmare. It's a 3/3. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent of their choice to choose a card type with it. For each player that doesn't, they lose 2 life and you draw a card. So, there are cards in the set like Beamsaw Prospector that just aren't very great cards, and I just tried to find a home for them. So for Beamsaw, you can sacrifice the creature to Braids and then sacrifice the lander token to Braids. It's also important to note, though, that you're playing black and don't have the best ramp, and just getting a lander token that you can ramp from is not that bad. So, Blade of the Swarm is 3 colorless and a black for a creature, insect, assassin. Whenever this creature enters, you choose 1. Put up to 2 +1 counters on this creature, so it'll be a 5/3, or put target exiled cards with warp on the bottom of owner's library. Famulus. The Infestation is 3 and a black for a legendary creature, a vampire, insect, 2/2 flying, and death touch. Whenever a player sacrifices a non-token creature, create a 1/1 insect with flying. And whenever an insect, leech, slug, or worm you control enters, defending player loses 1 life and you gain a life. So it's just another insect if you wanted to make an insect-based, Kindred deck. You could just build an insect deck and put this with the Infestation. Coral of the Void is 3 and a black for an enchantment aura. It enchants a creature you control, and whenever the enchanted creature attacks, put target creature card from the defending player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice it unless a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, or a spell is warped this turn. Don Andreas the Renegade is 1 a blue, a black, and a red for a legendary creature, vampire pirate 4/3. Each creature you control but don't own gets +2/+2, has menace and death touch, and is a pirate. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell you don't own, you create 2 tap trend tokens. So Coral of the Void gets a creature back every turn that's tapped and attacking, with menace, with death touch, with +2/+2. So Coral of the Void is a great card for Don Andres. Comment Crawler. This card is only good if you're playing like a pauper commander, but 2 in black, creature, insect, horror, 2/3 with lifelink. Whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, this creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. And then the Master of Review, Yuri, is a black and a red for a legendary creature, human shaman. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, you put a +1 counter on it, and whenever it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So I did not want to repeat the same commander over and over again, so I did not put the Insect Kindred guy up, the Insect Lord up, but I did want to find an example where this card might be playable in Pauper Commander with the Master. So Comet Crawler is there. Dark Endurance is black and a 1 for an instant. This spell costs 1 less to cast if it targets a blocking creature. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains indestructible on its end turn. Sir Vandam the Lucent is 2, a white, a black, and a black legendary creature, human knight, 4/4 with death touch and lifelink. Whenever it enters or attacks, other creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain death touch until end turn. So giving your creatures that have death touch indestructible is very good, especially because all of them have death touch. Your opponents might line up some blocks to be like, "Ha, prank, it's indestructible now." Feels pretty good. It just one-shot kills stuff, so that's cool. Decode Transmissions is 2 and a black for a sorcery. You draw 2 cards and lose 2 life, but if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell is warped this turn, instead you draw 2 cards and each opponent loses 2 life. Minthara, Merciless Soul is 2, a white, and a black for legendary creature, Elf Cleric. It has Ward X, where X is the number of experience counters you have. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, you get an experience counter, and creatures you control with +1/+0 for each experience counter you have. Now, Decode Transmission gets a little better in the Merciless Soul deck because your deck's already going to be focused on things leaving the battlefield, and then as long as you trigger that, you cast Decode Transmission after you make sure something left the battlefield during your end step, or just as long as between your end step and something leaving, cast Decode Transmissions, and you'll get the extra value. So, but just the card is better in the deck that's already doing what the deck wants to do. Depressurize is 1 and a black for an instant. Target creature gets -3/-0 until its turn. Then destroy that creature's. Then, if that creature's power is 0 or less, destroy it. Vren the Relentless is 2, a blue and a black for legendary creature Rat Rogue with Ward 2. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. At the beginning of each end step, create X/1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature gets +1/+1 for each other rat you control, where X is the number of creatures your opponents control that were exiled this turn. So Depressurize is actively just a bad card. But it can kill something if it's little. So I thought it was fun to put the card that destroys or something with the card that exiles it and then gets benefit with the exile, but Depressurize is just actively not a card you want to play. Dubious Delicacy is black and a 2 for an artifact food with flash. When this artifact enters, up to 1 target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. 2 tap, sack it, gain 3 life. 2 tap, sack it, target opponent loses 3 life. Camellia the Seed Miser is 1, a black and a green for a legendary creature Squirrel Warlock. 3/3 Menace. Other squirrels you control have Menace. Whenever you sacrifice 1 or more foods, make a 1/1. 2 Forage. Put a +1 count on each squirrel you control. To forage. Exile 3 cards from your graveyard or sacrifice a food. So Dubious Delicacy is a flash. You put it into play, -3/-3, and can kill something. Kill a little commander. And then you can just forage with it to your commander, to your Camellia commander, and then all your squirrels get bigger. So it gives you more value than just a little individual food. Elegy Acolyte is 2, a black and a black for a creature human cleric with lifelink, a 4/4. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose a life. And it has a void. At the beginning of your end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell is warped, create a 2/2 robot. Aura Skyclave Hierophant is 2, a white and a black for a creature legend core cleric 3/3 with lifelink. Whenever it or another cleric you control dies, return target cleric card with lesser converted mana cost from your graveyard to the battlefield. So your deck's going to already care about having a certain amount of clerics in play. Your deck is going to have things die and reanimate, and then they're going to deal damage. You're going to sacrifice, your attack with things, and then let one of them die just to get a different one back. And the Acolyte can draw us more cards. And, the white-black deck isn't playing blue. It needs access to card draw, and I think this is a fine card to do it, especially if you just want to play good clerics. Embrace Oblivion is 1 black. It's a sorcery. As additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact and creature. I did backwards. Destroy target creature or spacecraft. Tesla Opulent Oligarch is 1, a white and a black for legendary creature human advisor 2/3 with death touch. At the beginning of your end step, investigate for each opponent who lost life this turn. Whenever a clue you control is printed from the battlefield, to make a 1/1. So my thought is you can Embrace Oblivion and sacrifice either one of the clue tokens or sacrifice the spirit. If you sacrifice a clue, you get a spirit. Sacrifice a spirit, that would work. So that would be great there. So Entropic Battle Cruiser is 3 and a black for an artifact spacecraft. If it had 1 or more, which is like a super low cost, whenever an opponent discards a card, they lose a life. If it has 8 or more, it has flying and death touch. It's a 3/5 with a lot of toughness, big butts. Whenever this spacecraft attacks, each opponent discards card, each opponent who can't loses 3 life. Playable, I think, in a Tier Grid God of Fright deck. For 3, a black and a black, it's a legendary creature god with menace. It's a 4/5. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So your deck's already going to be making them discard, and they'll lose a life. And whenever it attacks, they lose more life, and they discard more cards. So this is a spacecraft that actively seems good in a Tier Grid deck, especially if your deck is not focused on winning with your opponent's creatures. But, there's lots of cards that they lose life when they sacrifice, and they take damage whenever they discard. So if your deck is built like that, it's great in a Tier Grid deck. Faller's Faithful is 2/1 black. It's a creature human wizard. It's a 3/1. When this creature enters, destroy up to one target other creature. If that creature wasn't dealt damage this turn, its controller draws 2 cards. Inala Archmage Ritualist is 2 a blue and a black and a red for a 4/5 legendary creature human wizard with eminence. Whenever another non-token wizard enters the battlefield under your control, if it's in your command zone or on the battlefield, you may pay 1. If you do, create a token that's a copy of it, and then you exile Unix end step. Tap 5 on tap wizard control, target player loses 7 life. So what I like here is that if you pay the black on the 2 plus 1, so if you pay 4 mana, you get a 3/1 and a 3/1. You can destroy a creature. My thought is, though, it's kind of interesting. If you have one Faller's Faithful destroy, if you target the other one, and then the other one targets the other one, I think you'll destroy both and draw 2 cards. Because you'll have 2 triggers. So for black 3, you'll have 2 wizards enter, 2 wizards leave, and you'll draw 4 cards. Seems kind of good. Plus, maybe you can tap them and have a player lose 7 life. You have 4 other wizards, too. So there's something here. I don't know. It maybe works. I don't know. But just being able to destroy something for 4, and then even if they draw cards, pretty good too. You destroy 2 things. So Fell Graveship is black and a 2 for an artifact spacecraft. Whenever it enters, mill 3 cards, then return a creature or spacecraft card from your graveyard to your hand. And it has 8 charge counters. It's flying lifelink 3/2. Emotech, the Stormlord, is 2 a black and a black for legendary artifact creature of Necron. Whenever one or more artifact cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 black Necron warrior artifact creature token. Or create 2 of those tokens. At the beginning of combat on your turn, another target artifact creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains menace until end of turn. So whenever an artifact card leaves your graveyard, this can return a spacecraft or an artifact creature to your hand. I also think that whenever this creature is crude enough, you could give it the +2/+2 and menace. Then it's a 5/4 flying lifelink. I also think that your 2/2s that come into play every single time something leaves your graveyard, they don't have haste in theory, and they can crew the Fell's Graveship. So there's some value here in having just a different kind of artifact, and then be the thing that attacks and leaves your graveyard. So that's what I like there. Graveblade Heavy is 3 and a black for a human soldier 3/4. As long as you control an artifact, this creature gets +1/+0 and has death touch. And then Sivris, Nightmare Speaker, is black 3 legendary creature, Snake Cleric Warlock. Tap, sack another creature artifact for each opponent you mill a card, then return that card to the battlefield from your graveyard to your hand, unless that player pays 3 life. The Graveblade Heavy is just actively a bad card. You probably shouldn't play it. But if you had to have a home for it in the deck that has creatures and artifacts, and you're sacrificing them and milling and returning things from your graveyard and paying life, this is where its home would be. Just this card is actively not good. Gravkill is 3 and a black for an instant. Exile target creature or spacecraft. Killian Ink Duelist is 1 white and 1 black for a legendary creature, human warlock with lifelink. It's a 2/2 with menace. Spells you cast, a target of creature costs 2 as cast. So with Killian, Gravkill becomes 1 black and a 1. It's an instant. Exile target creature or spacecraft. It's pretty good. So I like it there. Gravpack Monoist is 2 and a black for a creature, human scout, 2/1 with flying. Whenever it dies, make a tap 2/2. So whenever Felafar, Dawn of the Absban, attacks or enters the battlefield, you sacrifice an island permanent. When you do, put +1 counter on each creature control. So my idea is, this is 2 instances of things you can sacrifice to your commander, and so it's technically playable there. So that was my idea there. Hull Carver is 1 black for an artifact creature, robot assassin, 1/1 with death touch. Rendmaw Creaking Nest is 3 a black and green for legendary artifact creature Scarecrow. It's a 5/5 with menace and reach. Whenever it enters, and whenever you play a card with 2 or more card types, each player creates a tapped 2/2 black bird creature token with flying. the tokens are goaded for the rest of the game. So whenever it enters and whenever you play Hulk Carver, you also make a 2/2 black bird. So, or each player does. So this is just 1 mana, each fight gets a 2/2. So seems super cheap and super fun. So plus, whenever you inevitably sacrifice it or it dies, it's 2 types for Delirium, which is nice. Hilderblade is 1 black for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+1. At the beginning of your end step, if an non permanent left the battlefield this turn, you can attach this equipment to a creature you control and then pay 4. Zurich's Carrier of the Flame is 2, a black and a red, legendary creature Phoenix, flying in haste. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature left your graveyard this turn, target Phoenix you control deals damage equal to its power name target. And whenever a Phoenix you control dies, you may cast it from your graveyard. Your Phoenixes are just going to die, and every single time something dies, you can attach this equipment to it. And if you put this on a Phoenix and then a creature card leaves your graveyard like a Phoenix, it deals 3 more damage. So, if you get what I'm saying, the Phoenixes are entering and leaving the battlefield so often that this is going to keep attaching itself and dealing damage, which is nice. It's also important to note this doesn't give each end step if a creature card left your graveyard, so that's pretty good there too. Hymn of the Faller is 1 in a black for a sorcery. Surveil 1, draw a card, lose a life. And if another permanent left the battlefield or warp this turn, you draw another card. Mirko, Obsessive Theorist, is 1, a blue and a black for legendary creature Vampire Detective. It's a 1/3 with flying and vigilance, and whenever you surveil, put a ++1 counter on it. At the beginning of your end step, you may return target creature card with power less than its from your graveyard to the battlefield finality counter on it. So this is just another way to instantly surveil. If you're playing cards that like cost 3 mana and do something similar to this effect, this is a 2 mana instead of a 3 mana way to draw 2, lose some life, and surveil 1. So if you're playing surveil-based decks, you want Hymn of the Faller. Insatiable Skittermaw is 2 in a black for a creature insect horror 2/2 with menace. And then if something left the battlefield this turn, it gets a counter on a creature at the end of your end step. Zask, Scaring Swarmlord, is 3 green for legendary creature insects by 5. You may play lands and cast insect spells from your graveyard. Whenever another insect you control dies, you may put it on the owner's library, then mill 2 cards. 1, a black and a green, target insect gets +1/+0 and gains death touch on turn. So in the insect deck that you're going to just have them die, we're going to be sacrificing them for value. Insatiable Skittermaw can just keep putting +1/+2 counters on itself and getting bigger. Lightless Evangel is 1 in a black for a creature Vampire Cleric. Whenever you sacrifice another creature or artifact for a ++1 counter on this creature. Edgar Markov is 3, a red, a white, and a black for legendary creature Vampire Knight. Has Eminence. Whenever you cast another vampire spell, if it's in the command zone or on the battlefield, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token. It has first strike and haste, and whenever it attacks from you put a ++ count on each vampire you control. So your deck already has ++ synergies. You're probably going to be sacrificing treasures, and you can sacrifice your vampires for various effects. The Lightless Evangel rewards you for doing all of those things, and it's only 2 mana. Feels pretty good. Monoist Circuit Feeder is 4, a black and a black for an artifact creature, Noctulus. Whenever this enters, until end of turn, target creature you control gets +X/+0. And target creature an opponent controls gets -0/-X, or X the number of artifacts you control. Mishra, Tamer of Makfala, is 3, a black and a red for legendary creature Human Artificer 4/4. Permanents you control have ward sack a permanent, and each artifact card in your graveyard has unearth 1 black and a red. So my idea here is that if this is in your graveyard, you can just pay 3 mana to reanimate it, and then you have a ton of artifacts since you're probably playing that kind of, since you are playing that kind of deck with Mishra, and you can just kill something. Feels pretty good. In the Mishra deck. Monoist Century is 1 black for an artifact creature Robot Defender 4/5. Brawls the Scar Stripe is 1, a black and a green for legendary creature Troll Warrior 2. Each creature card in your graveyard has Scabbage. The Scabbage cost is equal to its mana cost. So, you exile a creature card from your graveyard and pay the mana cost, but a number of ++ counters equal to that card's power on target creature. So, in your graveyard, Monoist Century is 1 mana, put 4 +1/+1 counters on something. And you can sacrifice a creature generated. But Century being 4 +1/+1 counters for 1 black mana, that's better than a Giant Growth, and that's a lot of value. Plus, if you're playing those colors and playing in the graveyard, you're probably dealing with some amount of Delirium, and this is an artifact and a creature for that deck. So, super strong in the Troll Warrior build. Perigi Beckoner. Perigi Beckoner is 4 and a black for a creature horror 4/5. Whenever this creature enters on end of turn, another target creature control gets +2/+0 and gains. When this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under turn control. And it has Warp 1 and a black. The Meep is 2 and a black for legendary creature alien 0/4 ward, pay 3 life. Whenever the Meep attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, creatures you control have base power and toughness XX to end of turn, or X is the sacrificed creature's mana value. So, my thought here is that if you warp it into play for 2, attack with Meep, sacrifice the Beckoner, now everything is a 5/5, even though you only pay 2 mana for it. I don't know how good that is, it just kind of feels fun. Requiem Monolith is 2 and a black for an artifact. With tap, until end of turn, target creature gains. Whenever this creature is dealt damage, you draw that many cards and lose that much life. That creature's controller may have this artifact deal 1 damage to it, activate only as a sorcery. Indoraptor, the perfect hybrid, is 1, a black or a green, and a red for a legendary creature dinosaur mutants with Bloodthirst X. This creature enters battlefield with X +++ counters on it, where X is the damage dealt to your opponents this turn. It has Menace and Enrage. Whenever it's dealt damage, choose an opponent at random. It deals damage equal to its power to that player unless they sacrifice a non-token creature. So this can just trigger that. The Monolith can just trigger that Enrage ability, or line up for many other things and draw like a ton of cards. So the Monolith seems pretty good for an Indoraptor, the perfect hybrid build. Scourge Grounds for Eternity. For 2 and a black to sorcery at the beginning, as an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Return target creature or spacecraft card with mana value 5 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, then create a land or token. Corvold, the Faith Cursed Keen, is 2, a black, a red, and a green for a 4/4 legendary creature dragon noble with flying. Whenever it enters or attacks, sacrifice another permanent. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, put a ++ counter on it and draw a card. So my idea here is that you have to sacrifice something, you get value from Corvold. You return something else, make a lander token, sack the lander token, get value. Whenever that, then you could sacrifice it again and get value. A lot of value to be had with the Grounds for Eternity and Corvold, so I included those together. Sothra, the Super Void, is 2, a black and a black for a legendary enchantment. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent chooses a creature they control and exiles it. At the beginning of your end step, if a player controls no creature, sacrifice it. Then put a creature card exiled with it onto the battlefield under your control with additional 2 ++ counters on it. Ketchermoth, the New Dawn, is 1, a white and a black for legendary creature god. It's a 4/4 with Menace, Lifelink, and Indestructible. It can't attack or block unless there are 7 or more cards in exile. Whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn, you draw a card and lose 1 life. So this just fills up exile quickly, and then you can get them back with 2 additional ++ counters. You have to sack it eventually, but you get one of those creatures back. And then anytime something dies, Catcher Mouse will let you draw a card and lose a life. So there's a ton of value to be had here. So that's great fun. Sunset Saboteur is 1 and a black. It's a creature human rogue 4/1 with Menace and Ward, discard a card. Whenever this creature attacks, put a ++ counter on target creature an opponent controls. Extra Sleeper Agent. Probably not saying that right. It's a 1, a black, and a red for legendary creature Phyrexian minion. The Sleeper Agent enters the battlefield under the control of an opponent of your choice. It attacks each combat if able and can't attack its owner or planeswalkers its owner's controls. And 3, its controller loses 2 life and you draw a card. Any player may activate this ability. The idea here is that you can play Sunset Saboteur, and whenever it attacks, you put the ++ counters on the Sleeper Agent, so the Sleeper Agent hits your opponents harder. Very fun. Very cutesy. Susorian Dredgecraft is 4 on a black. Whenever this spacecraft enters, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature. And if it gets up to 7 charge counters, it has flying, it's a 4/3. Mishra Eminent One is 2, a blue and a black, and a red for a legendary creature human artificer 5/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a token that's a copy of target non-creature artifact you control, except its name is Mishra's Warform, and it's a 4/4 construct artifact creature in addition to its other types. It gains haste slot of turn, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So you can choose Mishra to copy the Dredgecraft, and when it enters, each opponent will sacrifice a non-token creature. Not the best version of this effect. I'm sure you get that for less mana, but here's where we're at. So Saurian Voidborn is 2 and a black for a creature, vampire, soldier. Whenever this or another creature or artifact you control dies, target opponent loses a life and you gain a life. And it has work for 1 black. Tesla Karlov is 2, a white and a black legendary creature, human advisor. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Creature tokens you control have vigilance and lifelink. So the idea here is that you get 2 triggers off of a dying, dealing 2 damage to target opponent, and you gain 2 life. Not really much else to say. Swarm Color is 3 in the black for a creature, insect, warrior, flying 2/4. Whenever this creature becomes tapped, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact if you do draw a card. Grist the Hunger Tide is 1 a black and a green for legendary creature, legendary planeswalker Grist. It is a creature, but not yet. As long as it isn't on the battlefield, it's a 1/1 insect creature token interested in other types. It has 3 loyalty to start. +1, create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token. 10 mill a card. If an insect token, if an insect card is milled this way, put a loyalty counter on it and repeat this process. You may sack a creature. When you do, destroy target creature or planeswalker. -5. Each opponent loses life equal to creature cards from your graveyard. My idea here is that your 1 things in your graveyard, you have tokens to sacrifice. You can sacrifice them and then draw cards. So, not the best card. Kind of a little shitter, but, works. Temporal Intervention is 2 and a black for a sorcery with Void. This spell costs 2 less to cast if a non-land permanent was left the battlefield this turn. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. Tiny Bones Bauble Burglar is 1 and a black for legendary creature, skeleton rogue. Whenever an opponent discards a card, exile it from the graveyard with the stash counter on it. During your turn, you may play cards you don't own the stash counters on them from exile, and mana of any type may be spent to cast those spells. For 3 and a black, you can tap it. Each opponent discards a card, activate only as a sorcery. So this can just be if something has been, left the battlefield to turn, something died, sacrifice a treasure, sacrifice a clue or something. This costs 1 black. It doesn't make you lose a 2 life from Thoughtseize, and you just get something specific, opponent to exile, and you can play it. Time Color is black for a creature, Drix Warlock. It's a 2/2 with haste. You may cast this card from your graveyard using its warp ability, and it has warp black, pay 2 life. You may cast this card from your hand or graveyard for its warp cost. If you do, exile this creature at the beginning of the next end step, then you may cast it from exile on a later turn. And Hello the Painter, and Hilo, is 2 a black and a red for legendary creature, vampire assassin. It's a 1/3 with death touch. The first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn has casualty 2. So you can use the Time Color as your casualty 2 and then copy the spell. And then just cast it from exile for 2 mana. Or just cast it from your graveyard after you sacrifice it. And then it goes in your graveyard, you warp it out, you exile it, you pay the 2 black. Or you just sacrifice it again. It might just die again. You might just keep it in your graveyard and keep paying 2 life. So then it just the Painter just becomes the first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn, costs additional black, and loses you 2 life. Oh, but you get to copy it. So that seems pretty good here. Tragic Trajectory is 1 black for a sorcery. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn, and that creature gets -10/-10 until end of turn instead if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn. Massacre Girl Known Killer is 2 a black and a black for legendary creature, human assassin. It's a 4/4 with menace. Creatures you control have Wither. And whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, if it's often less than 1, draw a card. So Tragic Trajectory just becomes 1 black, target creature -2/-2, draw a card. Or -10/-10, draw a card, which is pretty strong. And then I do love Massacre Girl's flavor text. Did I do it? You'll have to be more specific. Yeah, that's just phenomenal. Umbral Collar Zealot is black and a 1 for a creature, human cleric. Sacrifice another creature or artifact, surveil 1. It's a 3/2. Zergo Stormrender is red, a white, and a black for a legendary creature, orc warrior with mobilize 1. Whenever this creature attacks, create a tap team attacking 1/1 red warrior creature token. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Whenever a creature token you control leaves the battlefield, draw a card if it was attacking. Otherwise, each opponent loses 1 life. So you can sacrifice a bunch of your tokens to surveil 1 over and over again and get into your combo piece, or just fill up your graveyard. And you can draw cards if those if you just, you can say these tokens are, you can move to combat, attack, and before blockers, sacrifice them. Just draw a bunch of cards. That's good too. Surveil 1. Oh, I don't want to. Okay, draw a different card. Oh, I want that one, draw a card. See, feels pretty good. Virus Beetle is black at a 1 for an artifact, creature, insect. Whenever this creature enters, each opponent discards a card. And then Shiru's Caretaker is 4 and a black for a legendary creature spirit. Whenever a creature with power 1 or less is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may return the card to the battlefield at the beginner's end step if it's still on the battlefield. So this dies, you sacrifice it, it comes back into play. You can, it's another thing you can just drain your opponent's hands with. I know this is a reprint, but it's just perfect home for it. Void Forged Titan is 4 and a black for an artifact creature robot warrior. It's a 5/4. At the beginning of your end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, you draw a card and you lose a life. So it doesn't say a non-token permanent, so it works well with John Johnson, probably Han Hansen. That's what it is. Han Hansen, Chaos Crafter. For one red, 1 white, and a red. A red, a white, and a black. Legendary creature, Gnome Artificer, 3/3 with haste. Tap, sacrifice an artifact creature, create 2 treasure tokens, or sacrifice a non-creature artifact like a treasure and make a 1/1. And so the Void Forged Titan can check at the beginning of your end step. You can draw cards and lose life off of it, but you can draw cards from doing the thing your deck's already trying to do. Vote Out is 3 and a black for a sorcerer with Convoke, and then you draw a creature. Conjure Gnome Genome Sorcerer. Kuja Genome Sorcerer is 2 a black and a red legendary creature, human mutant wizard. It's a 3/4. At the beginning of your end step, create a tapped 0/1 black wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent. You can control 4 more of those wizards, 4 more wizards you transform it. But those wizards, when they're untapped, can be used to cast this spell and make it cheaper on your mana, and it'll deal damage to your opponents. So a little bit of synergy there. Zoo Ifits. Osteoharmonist is 1 a black and a black for legendary creature, human wizard. It has tap, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's a skeleton in addition to its other types and has no abilities. Activate only as a sorcery. The Tora, the Incinerator, is 3 a black, a red, and a green for legendary creature, Demon Dragon. It's a 6/6 with flying. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, it deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target, and you create 3 treasure tokens. So my thought here is that you just need to be able to sacrifice something to the Torah every single turn. And Zoo, if it can just get the Osteoharmonist, can just get back a creature every turn. Then you can sacrifice it as Torah, and then go from there. And use reanimate big things, sacrifice them again, and I have to spend to reanimate like instants and sorcery resources on it. Feels pretty good. 0 points Ballad is X and a black. Destroy all creatures with toughness X or less. You lose X life. If X is 6 or more, return a creature card from a graveyard this way. Put into a graveyard this way onto the battlefield under your control. Betor, Ken to all is 2 a white, a black, and a green for legendary creature spirit dragons with flying. At the beginning of your end step, if creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater, draw a card. Then if creatures you control have total toughness 20 or greater, untap each creature you control. Then if creatures you control have total toughness 40 or greater, each opponent loses half their life rounded up. My thought here is that you're playing a bunch of big butt creatures. You're playing high toughness creatures, and you can just wipe your opponent's board that aren't playing those and keep your things in play, which feels pretty strong. And Susor Thesinkni, Void Altar is a land planet, enters tapped, it adds a black, and has station. If it's 12 or more, you pay 1 the black, pay 2 life, sack a creature, draw cards equal to its power. Henzi Toolbox Tori is black, a red, and a green for a 3/3 legendary creature, Devil Rogue. Each creature spell you cast with mana value 4 or greater has Blitz. The Blitz cost is equal to its mana cost. Blitz cost you cast costs 1 less to cast for each time you cast your commander from the command zone in this game. My thought is that if you're going to have to sacrifice your Blitz creature anyway, you might as well sacrifice it to Sasor and you get to draw that many cards equal to its power. So it just gives you more utility in your land base. And those are all of the black cards from Edge of Eternities and a commander they could possibly be played in. I did make a video on my channel going over all the white and blue, green and red, multicolor and colorless. So look for those videos, and there should be a playlist of them on your screen now. If you watched this far into the video, you probably liked it, so drop me a like, please. And comment down below which cards you agree go in which commanders, which ones you're putting in other commander decks, and just let me know your thoughts overall in the comments below. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and may your top decks be ever in your favor.